Hello and welcome to episode 338 of Sutton Impact Family Style. I'm Jason.
Bill, and let's get the hideous part of the show out of the way first.
30-6, Houston Texans, Pittsburgh Steelers.
No answers on offense or on defense.
No.
No splash plays. No game plan on the Steelers' part. Great game plan on the Texans' part.
Beautiful game plan.
They came out all fired up, ready to play. Maybe J.J. Watt got into their spirit, but that was interesting. I'm glad it's over. I don't want to ever watch that replay of that game again.
No, and Kenny Pickett got hurt, Pat Fryermuth got hurt, and Dan Moore got hurt, which may be a blessing in disguise. No offense to Dan Moore, but getting Broderick Jones, the guy you drafted in the first round at tackle, might be good long term. But yeah, that's not a great way. And then shout out to Nico Collins and C.J. Stroud, who looks great through 4 NFL games, right?
Unbelievable. I think C.J. Stroud, I think Nico had 160 yards receiving.
2 touchdowns.
It was never covered.
No. And C.J. Stroud looks like this is our last Steeler moment. This is our sad one. He looks like he might be hurt, might miss a few weeks, but C.J. Stroud has looked like he's belonged in the NFL from the day he took his first snap. Whereas Pickett has looked less than.
I mean, we got to question it. We are questioning whether or not the Steelers will be in the market for a quarterback next year.
But if you're a Texans fan right now, Will Anderson has looked good. Your coach looks like he knows what he's doing out there, and looks like you have a nice young quarterback receiver combo. And then Tank Dell and some, I mean they looked really good today, and shout out to them.
Yeah, I mean, they've made the most out of drafting in the top 5 the last couple of years. So, yeah, shout out to them for sure.
I guess.
As I told you when I was texting you, it looks like if you're a coach from the 49ers system, a.k.a. the Texans, a.k.a. the Dolphins, there's something there.
Yeah, although the Dolphins, we should talk about that game next. Buffalo 48, Miami 20. Buffalo put it on them today.
Yeah.
And they slowed down that Miami that Miami offense still looks fantastic, but Buffalo, Tua looked very human today. Tyreek Hill only 3 catches against Buffalo, no touchdowns. That says something, right?
Right.
Now, for everybody's fantasy here, Devontae A-Chain still had 8 carries for 101 yards and 2 touchdowns.
So, yeah, I'm sure everybody picked him up last week.
So he looks pretty unstoppable. But, I mean, this Bills team that, I sadly have to admit I was down upon. I think I picked them to come in 4th in the division, which I feel pretty dumb about now, or maybe it was 3rd, I can't remember. But I didn't pick them to do very well. But they look phenomenal. They were at home today, but you put up 48 and hold the Dolphins to 20, hold Tyreek to 53 yards and no touchdowns. You did your job.
Yeah, I mean, it was not a good week for the talking heads, too, because they were singing the Browns. They were singing the Dolphins. It just, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we're week 4 now. Week 4, right? So we're fine.
Yeah, tomorrow will be the end of week 4.
And this is usually the time of year where you can start to see who a team is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, for instance, when our Steelers got crushed by the 49ers, when it's week 1, you're like, it's week 1. It's probably one of the best teams in football, definitely one of the best defenses. Not a big deal. And now week 4, you're like, kind of a big deal. Especially because Arizona is hanging with San Francisco today, 21-16, with Josh Dobbs at quarterback.
Yes, and we wish he had Josh Dobbs right now.
We do. I always liked Josh Dobbs, the rocket scientist with alopecia. He was a stud.
Yeah.
Really liked that team.
The Bengals are a confounding team. I cannot figure that one out at all.
Well, how bad is this Joe Burrow injury? I mean, he's playing with it, but he's throwing for like 4 yards a pass. So there's.
I don't know. I just don't understand it. There's a lot of talent there on both sides of the ball, and I have no idea. I mean, I picked them to win the AFC North, and it looks like they're going to be last.
Yeah.
Or battling the Steelers for last.
Maybe battling the Steelers and the Browns. Maybe that division just
Yeah, maybe we overrated our division.
I mean, all the national talking heads did as well, so I feel less bad about it. But yeah, it's quite possible we did. Before we forget, let's talk about our 9:30 a.m. London game, where Jacksonville beat Atlanta pretty handily. But you and I were not impressed with the Disney broadcast, the Toy Story integration, right?
No, if you're going to hype it this much, I was expecting the visuals to be outstanding.
Yeah.
And I don't even think they were as good as an average video game. I don't think they were as good as a video game. Good video game. No way.
They weren't as good as a video game from 2010. That's how bad they were. And then I don't know what, all the copyrights and everything else, but I sort of thought, you could, again, I don't want to use this dirty word given the field I'm in and the strike we just finished, but, I thought you could maybe change the announcers' voices to Buzz and Woody, put a filter on them. You have Buzz and Woody voices. I thought that Andy's room, the background of it would look a lot more animated and less like just a old school computer background. Like there would be stuff happening on, I know you don't want to take away from the game, but stuff happening on the sidelines. And then the first play I saw was the Calvin Ridley touchdown. And if you watch the animated version, it looked like the ball hit the end zone floor and then they yelled touchdown. So, immediately I thought he dropped it.
I was really disappointed. The highlight of the day for me associated with this was Randy Scott and Gary Stryling dressed up like Buzz and Woody on SportsCenter.
Yeah.
I thought that was the most entertaining part of that concept. But again, what were they trying to accomplish with this? Would watching that can make me a football fan? I don't think so. If I wasn't a football fan,
no.
And how long? I would love to know how long the average person stayed on that broadcast.
And
I watched for 5 minutes and I had done.
And I would like to know if I had an 8-year-old in my house and I was like, this is going to be the intro to football day, right? And I sat him down, I put that on. How long before he's bored?
I think 5 minutes.
Because it didn't seem like it had the stimulation. I don't want to, pretend like I know how kids' minds work these days, but it didn't look like it had the visual stimulation or excitement that would be required to really, again, if I'm introducing someone to the game, I think they would just be like, this kind of sucks.
Yeah. When you hype something this much, it's hard to live up to the hype.
It is.
But when you hype something this much, you shouldn't fall this short of it either.
Especially, we're talking about Disney and the NFL, right?
Yeah. We saw the players, obviously they were coached and prompted and did their announcements about who they were and who this guy looked like and who this guy looked like. But it just wasn't all that.
No, it really wasn't. I guess another transition from more football from previous in the week. Detroit whooped up on Green Bay in Green Bay on Thursday night. Thoroughly. I, of course, had David Montgomery riding on my bench in fantasy, but we won't get into that. But Detroit, speaking of, we talk about the Browns and the Steelers and other hype teams this year. Detroit is slowly looking like they might actually be the team that's going to win that division, right?
I picked them to win that division. For sure.
They're 3-1.
I still am sticking with my 49ers pick.
Yes. Well, for the conference, sure.
Yeah.
But for the NFC North, the Vikings don't look good. They just beat the Packers. So, they're on their way.
The Bears are absolutely hideous.
Hideous. They own the first 2 picks in the draft, though, right now. So that's exciting for them.
And I think, you know what, though? Again, if you don't have the guys that can make the right decision and you don't have the guys that can take those 2 picks and make them great players, doesn't matter.
It's true. But if you're a Bears fan, you can at least be saying, Caleb Williams, Marvin Harrison Jr., we got a squad for the next decade. That's at least that's your silver lining hope, right?
Yeah.
Another team we're transitioned to who's getting destroyed by the Dallas Cowboys, New England Patriots, who are a little bit like our Pittsburgh Steelers. You drafted a first-round quarterback in the last 5 years. It looks like he may not be the guy. And you're getting beat 31-3 right now. And you're kind of in that no man's land of you're going to be 1-3 at the end of this week. You don't look like you can hang with any of the other teams in your division except the Jets, who lost their quarterback. And it's a weird spot to be in, right?
Oh, yeah. It's bad. It's bad and it's sad.
And unlike the Steelers, where you basically have to beg them to let you stop being their coach, it does seem like there's been smoke between the Kraft Belichick camps over the years, But Belichick's been so successful, you couldn't really do anything, right? You'd be silly to get rid of him.
Yeah.
Whereas now, he has a losing record in the 50 games since Tom Brady has left. And the team, it looks like they might not be very good this year. So if you're ever going to get rid of Belichick as Robert Kraft, you could probably get away with it this year.
Yeah, and I mean, you don't have to fire him. You just, promote him.
Yeah.
You just, make him the chairman or something. But yeah, I mean, it's sad.
It is.
Well, let's switch to yesterday.
Okay.
And let's talk about college football.
You want to start with everybody's favorite team, Colorado? Or everybody's least favorite team, depending on who you're talking about?
Colorado put on, they got down early, but they came back. And Shador Sanders looked good. They were missing, some players in the secondary, and they were missing, obviously Hunter.
Yeah.
But they lost by what, 8?
7 points. I think it was 48-41 or 48-42. They were right there.
Yeah, 48-41. And they had the ball. I mean, they had a shot. I mean, it was, if anything, I question SC's ability to stop anybody. I don't question their ability to outscore anybody. That's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
You throw for 6 touchdowns, you're legit.
And Caleb Williams looks this is the tank for Caleb Williams, draft.
Yeah, but you'd honestly have to say, okay, at Caleb Williams, I got Bo Nix, I got Hartman.
Yeah, Drake May.
I've got some, I think, and sad to say, back to our Steelers thing, maybe we have a place to go shopping next year.
Yeah, and then you never know with Sanders, right? His dad made it clear that he can make just as much money playing college football with NIL as he would as the first-year starter in the NFL. And I think, him coming back to Colorado next year is key on Dion being successful, right?
Yeah, I think he stays.
I think he does too.
I think he stays. I think that's what they do next year. I mean, Dion pretty much said, "Get me now."
Yeah.
Because this is the worst I'll ever be. I'll be, and I believe that. I really do.
Yeah.
So we had that game, which was a really interesting game, a highly entertaining game. Mississippi LSU, and Mississippi beats LSU. Over 100 points scored, so over 1,300, almost 1,300 yards of total offense.
Yeah, they didn't really play a lot of defense.
No, not at all.
Which was fun to watch, but probably not to coach.
Georgia Auburn, another very close game. Georgia's showing that maybe they're not all that, but we have to see.
We have to see, yeah.
It's the SEC. Anything can happen on any given day, so we'll have to see. But that's interesting. Utah got beat by, I'm trying to think who it was. It was
Washington State, yeah. But Utah's still without their quarterback, so that's their silver lining if you're a Utah fan.
Yep.
I do think it's funny how good the Pac-12 has looked this year, right?
Yeah. It really shows you how much mismanagement damaged that conference.
Yeah.
Because if you were renewing your TV ratings your TV contracts right now in the Pac-12.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I mean, obviously there's no money there because the Big 12 took the money, but obviously you could it'd be more than you think it's worth.
Yeah.
Or more than they got. And maybe they would have stayed together because, it's hard to say how this is going to turn out.
Yeah. Like they said, it may end up, we may be 20 years from now and we have one giant super conference, but it does look like if the Pac-12 had done the right thing, they might be one of the conferences sucking up people right now as opposed to dismantling for the most part.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a real
but some really, really good games. Fun to watch. I mean, I watched UCF had a 35-7 lead over Baylor and lost 36-35 at home.
Yeah, that's sad. It's very sad.
So, I mean, Texas pretty much burst Kansas's bubble.
Unsurprisingly, yes.
Yeah, no surprise. I mean, you knew that once Kansas played a legit team that they might play them well, but no, that was pretty much a blowout. So next week we got the annual Red River Shootout with Texas, Oklahoma. And that should be, as usual, that should be a fun game.
I think it will be. I'm looking forward to it. I think we've waited long enough. We have to talk NBA, right?
Have to talk NBA.
We had
Big trade.
two
And
giant
Dame wanted to
trades.
go to Miami, but he ended up going to Milwaukee. And in reality, it might be the best thing that happened to Dame.
Yeah, if you were talking best fit for Giannis and Dame, you were pairing two superstars together. Those two seem like an A-plus pairing. Because Giannis has never had anybody to run the pick and roll that was the threat that Dame is, both from the outside and driving the basketball. And when you look at as good as their defense was, and losing Holiday, they're definitely going to take a step back on defense. But in the half-court offense, they had trouble. They put up the Giannis wall, and they had trouble scoring, right?
Yeah.
If you got Dame Lillard, you were not having trouble scoring.
No.
You might have trouble stopping people from scoring, but
You got a lot of range.
you got a lot of range. And if you're Dame, you're not the best on defense, but behind you now is Giannis, one of the greatest defensive players ever, and Brook Lopez, who's a really good defensive player. So that's exciting. And for a small market from Milwaukee, and as we talked a little bit off air or off pod, whatever you want to call it, you have no picks until like 2031 that you control if you're Milwaukee. But if this goes south, you've got Giannis under control for 2 more years, Dame for 4 more years, and you could probably recoup some of that draft capital and hopefully get back in it.
But I think the winner to me is the Trailblazers.
Yes.
What they were able to acquire, not just for this year, but for 3 or 4 years down the road with draft pick swaps and draft picks,
Yeah.
was amazing. Amazing. It was much better. I can't even think that Miami would have. We knew Miami needed a partner, but there wasn't that much to be gotten.
No.
Whereas, you took the Drew Holiday thing and then shipped him to the Celtics, and you got a great ROI there on that trade. And it's all part of that trade. And then, the Celtics are going to be a much more interesting team now. I was kind of worried after they traded Marcus Smart. But now with Drew Holiday, that's a good plus.
If you're the Blazers, you got 3 firsts, 3 first-round swaps. You got DeAndre Ayton, who's still only 25, and, maybe there's still something there because he's not a bad player. He just has been a disgruntled player, which is not rare. You got Robert Williams from the Celtics, who, when he's healthy, and he is officially on the when he's healthy All-Star team, a really good player.
No question. Yeah.
And you made sure that Scoot, Simons, and Sharp have nobody in front of them blocking them. And you did it all before the season started. So everybody comes into camp, you got your team together, and it's just fantastic on their part, I think.
Yeah, I think it's unreal.
Because it seemed like for 6 months, or it feels like 6 months, maybe it hasn't been quite that long, but it felt like they were going to get bullied into taking Tyler Hero, who's still a really good player, and 2 Miami first rounds, and just that's going to be all you're going to get for Dame.
Yeah.
I think if there was a loser, because we like how it helps the Celtics, we like what it did for the Bucks, we love what it did for the Blazers. I don't know quite what it did for the Suns.
Oh, it cleared some payroll, and it gave them some role players because they didn't have enough. They were going to have a tough time filling out the roster, given the Bradley Beal contract and everything else. So it gave them some affordable role players to be on the roster.
And
Did it make them better? I don't know.
Yeah.
I really don't know.
For the
It
regulars,
seems like a strange roster to me.
yeah, because you added one of the foreign bigs who was always hurt that was on Portland, who makes less than Ayton. You added, Grayson Allen,
Grayson Adams, yep.
who was okay during the regular season, but he cannot play in the playoffs. And yeah. Oh, and one more thing to the Bucks. The Bucks added Campaign on a veteran minimum deal, which I kind of like. It's a backup point guard, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's solid.
And the thing we haven't talked about is you made Giannis happy.
Yeah. And again,
that had to be a critical consideration.
And at the very least, I feel like he signs a 1-1 at the end of this 2 years, right? If things don't go horribly south this year.
Yeah, I think so.
And
but I think they'll be better.
I think they will too. Like I said, I think Campaign and Dame, I think that adds a lot to your team. And they did have the best record in basketball last year. And while they lost in the first round, Giannis did get hurt. So, You know, you just
Yeah.
you never know. But now Chris Middleton gets to be the third best player, which is I think the role you want him in. I think sometimes with as good as and as much as we like him, Drew Holiday for the Celtics, I don't think he's a number 2 player, right?
Right.
Although if you look at what he's been traded for over the course of his career, he's been traded for quite a lot.
Yes, he has.
So for
Well, it'll be interesting to see this. We have the Lakers saga.
yeah,
I can't believe the Heat are going to stand pat, but I don't know what they have they can get. I don't know what else is out there.
they got and what hurt them double is it seemed like as much as they wanted Dame, because Miami is Miami and they're a destination and they have that front office. Like I think they were also sort of salivating at the thought of maybe trading for Giannis in a year. But this sort of squashed those plans too for everybody, right?
Yep.
But there was a man who tweeted yesterday, this offseason laughed my ass off, in one Joel Embiid, who was sitting in Philadelphia watching the Bucks get better, watching the Celtics get better, and watching his co-star call his GM a liar who he never wants to play for again. So maybe he's available.
Hey, I'll tell you what. Joel Embiid in Miami with Jimmy Butler.
Oh, yeah.
I like that. I like that a lot.
I do too. Because again, we don't know what James Harden will do, but odds are it won't be good, right?
Yeah, we know what he's going to do. He's going to screw up the team even worse until he gets his own way.
Yeah.
So we know that. That's a given.
Yeah. Is he going to come in 40 pounds overweight? Is he just going to be disgruntled? I mean, he sort of painted himself into this corner of, I will never play for an organization that has Daryl Morey. Meanwhile, he's under contract with an organization that has Daryl Morey.
Yeah.
And for a guy that's forced...
you're not going to get value for him because he's a pain in the ass and nobody wants him.
Yeah.
So all you can trade a pain in the ass for is another pain in the ass.
And I don't know which pain in the ass is out there for you.
I don't
know. I don't think the Mavericks are going to trade him for Kyrie. Trying to think of other pains in the asses in the league, and I don't know who they are,
No, it was nice to see Kyrie's press conference, though, where I shopped around. I decided this was the best deal. I think it was probably the only deal.
I think it was the best deal he had, for sure. I'm sure he had a lot of one-year crappy offers.
Yep.
But yeah, so it'll be interesting to see. Because, again, with Harden, it's not going to... I think he's also... For as little pride as he appears to have in important games in the playoffs, I feel like he has a lot as a man, especially with all the rappers he hangs out with, that he can't just go back and play in Philadelphia, right?
No, he can't lose face.
And I don't see Daryl Morey doing some sort of big, please begging apology in public that maybe would quell James Harden for a few months. I don't see that happening either based on Daryl Morey's ego, so...
No, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah. And again, Embiid is 30 years old, a history of bad knee problems, and he's a big, big man. And those guys don't have the longest runways, right?
Right.
And if I'm Embiid and I'm tweeting, laughing my ass off at the way that everything's going, we weren't in the Dame sweepstakes. We still have Harden. We still have this mess. I've been a loyal Philadelphia through the process. I've done everything you've asked me to do. I won the MVP.
Yeah. Well, stay tuned. This is going to be an interesting NBA season.
Indeed. And like I said, I think I'll tune in to watch the Bucks, but as we've spoken about in the past before, I think sort of the sad thing about the NBA is where today, we had talked about different plans, and I was like, no, the Steelers play at noon, and I know that's a terrible husband thing to say, but it's like, no, I've got to be here at noon to watch the Steelers play. Whereas as exciting as all this NBA stuff is, it feels more like I don't know how much I'm tuning in, I'm going to watch highlights.
It's not planned for. It's, I'm home. If nothing else comes on, maybe I'll check that out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, when I wake up in the morning and I typically, while I'm getting ready, answering emails, I'll scroll through sports highlights on YouTube. And I'm definitely going to throw on some Bucks highlights here and there to check them out. But yeah. And I know the NBA is doing
I'll follow Oklahoma City like I always do.
Yeah.
I'll follow Miami like I always do, and Phoenix, people that I've worked with. But, it's not, if I watch a game, great. If I don't, hey, there's 81 other games, right?
Right. I mean, Christmas Day, maybe, you know.
Yeah, Christmas Day is usually a good NBA day, by far.
Yeah.
Good matchups.
We know we usually end up with Steph and LeBron and some other people. And I guess shout out to LeBron for posting an image of him working out at 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm not sure what that says, but I mean, great. Maybe you had to pee. You got up. I don't know.
Let's switch. Entertainment, food. What we got? Anything?
I'm part of a NOLA Eats food group on social media.
Okay.
And I told you this offline. Like, we are not a Italian pizza city here in the Big Easy. We have a couple spots that are pretty decent, but we're not known for that. So I asked for the best Sicilian slice. I got a lot of laughing emojis. A lot of people telling me to book a flight for New York or Sicily. So, you know, the usual.
Yeah.
But I tried a place today called Nola Mila Gelato. And just in case you're listening, don't try that pizza. It's not good. They do technically make a big, thick slice Sicilian looking pizza, but it's atrocious. So that's just my anti-food warning for people down here. If that's what you're craving, you're just not going to find it.
Okay. And I must have the same craving as you because I went on Amazon and I bought a Sicilian pizza pan. So sometime this month, I am going to learn how to make a Sicilian pizza.
I will say, because when I went to visit you guys have the automatic bread hook maker, whatever that's called, the mixer.
Yep.
And I'm learning that that's an important part of the process because trying to do it by hand.
No, you got to do it in the mixer. You got to have the mixer.
You got to have the mixer, and I've never owned a mixer. And doing it by hand, I kept thinking I got it right, and my dough just never quite worked. That was one of my big pandemic.
And then we have a couple of great Italian stores here that sell pizza dough. That I'll probably start with that before I want to make my own dough.
Yeah. Entertainment-wise, was there anything entertaining besides all this football and hoops?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so either. Oh, here's a question. This will be a question for both myself personally and for the listeners potentially. Today is October 1st. We're officially in Halloween season, right? Stephen King's Rose Red is on Hulu right now. Is that worth watching?
Is what worth watching?
Stephen King's Rose Red. It's a 3-part TV miniseries from 2001.
I don't remember it.
Okay. It popped up on the new Scary on Hulu this month. So if you want to watch it, it's a little over 3 hours long. It's 3 separate, it looks like it's 3 pieces. Yeah. Okay.
And I've had no entertainment this week or good food, so I was out of action. So hopefully I'll get some. I've got a good Italian restaurant I'm going to go to in Columbia, South Carolina on Tuesday night.
Okay.
And so I'll give a review of that next week.
Yeah. All right. So I guess that's it for this week. It was an exciting sports week.
It was a very exciting sports week.
So thank everybody for listening, and we'll talk to you next week.
Take care.